Hello, my crafty friends. It's Michelle, the Southern Shell, and I'm going to share with you today how I create my journal covers. This is a Journaling Our Way collaboration. It is the last Monday of every month, and it is brought to us by Tasha with Sunflower Tasha and Tiffany with Simply Blessed Crafts. Links to their channel, along with the playlist, is in my description box below. Let's jump right on in to my journaling project. Okay, so I have this ephemera loaded suitcase. Now it's not loaded right now, but this is a printable kit you can get off of Etsy. I'll leave it in my description box below. I'll link to where I purchased this. If you have a printer, it's easy. You print it out and you can print it double-sided. So your cardstock, you can make it just out of cardstock, but I actually add a little bit of um, chipboard to make mine sturdier. It comes with the instructions. It's super easy. Shabby Rose ephemera suitcase storage, and it is a vintage rose collection, and it's really very pretty. Here are the folders right there to go in the middle of it. Now I print everything out on cardstock, and this is 110-pound cardstock I get at Walmart, and I print it off. I have a very inexpensive inkjet printer, and as long as you have your settings right, you're good to go. I have some chipboard, I have scrap card, and of course, I have my printable. Now, I have a lot of journal items printed out that I've saved for me to throw together at another time. And this one is actually by my Porch Prints, and it is the Coffee Shop Journal, which has that same vintage rose. I keep my stuff stored in these mesh plastic bags, and it has all the stuff I need in it for that particular journal. I keep my scraps in there, and I keep, the printouts. You can print them once again double-sided, but these pages were actually the perfect size to put in this journal. I would just need to trim off the top and the bottom just a little bit to make the perfect signature for this journal. So I went through what I had already printed out, and I'm like, this will work just fine. There's all the extra ephemera pieces there, and we're going to just move on to the next step of this creation. Another item that I use is Tyvek. This is Tyvek, and this is a sturdy, if you get some mailing envelopes, a lot of times it will be Tyvek lined, and that envelope does not tear. It is very tear resistant. And so I actually purchased some Tyvek off of Amazon. If I can find the link, I will definitely post it below for you. And I have some 22-point chipboard. This is not bookboard, this is a chipboard, but it's very thick. It is not your average cardstock. I use that when I make my journal covers. So the next thing I'm going to do is I have my paper cutter, I have my guillotine paper cutter, I have my scoreboard, and let's get started. Now, this particular paper pack is a printable from my Porch Prints, and it is her vintage, it's a coffee journal kit, and it has everything you need. It might be in two kits. It's been a while since I purchased this one, so I don't know. Some kits will come with all the paper, and others will come with the ephemera. This I printed front and back so I could have the journal pages, and I could write on one side. I could put tags and or photos or whatever in on my other pieces. I always print my journals on my HP 35 or 36-pound paper. Heavy duty, it's wonderful. It is not a cardstock, but it is gorgeous paper to use. When you are printing and you're doing front and back, make sure you're watching your direction. See, we've got our words here, and when I printed this up, you can see here I've got this beautiful page, and then I put the background paper on, but upside down. So look at that. But I can always use this in another part of my project, just not as a double-sided item. Now, another thing I will do if I'm printing out for a journal is I'll print on vellum. These are nice to put in between certain signatures or on the outside of a signature, and you can actually pull it in and you'll be able to see what is on the next page underneath that. Let me find a sheet here for you so you can actually see. This one you can see, but it's not, it's a little harder because it's a little muted paper. Let's find something that's a little stronger so you can see. Let's see here. How about this one? Okay, yeah. See how you can lay that vellum on top and you can see everything underneath it. Real nice. So vellum is wonderful to use in your journals as well. So this is the one that I got off of Etsy, my more recent one. And it has your folder dividers, it has tag pockets, but I want the cover. That's what I'm going to be focusing on today, is just the cover for our journal. And I am using my chipboard right there, and I'm using that cover. And I'm going to go ahead and come in here with my guillotine, and I'm going to trim up the straight lines. Now, there will be a little fussy cutting on some of the other pieces, but for this one, let's just come in and trim up our straight lines. Once I have that all trimmed up and ready to go, I'm going to lay this down onto my chipboard and I'm going to trace it with a pencil. This is going to give me the shape I need for my journal cover. When I get it all traced all the way around, I'm also going to come in and mark it right where the creases are going to be, where the binding is going to be for the book, where I'm folding this up to create the cover. I want to go ahead and mark that down there so I can come in and know right where I need to trim up my chipboard to create my journal. Once I have that all on there, I'm going to use my ruler and I'm just going to draw a straight line so that I know where I need to come in with my X-Acto knife and cut out my chipboard pieces. This board is not easily cut with scissors unless you have some scissors that are amazing. I'm just coming in with my ruler, and it is a metal ruler, and my X-Acto knife. Go over it a few times lightly. Don't try to press and drag it through all at once. But see, the few times lightly, you're going to get a nice cut right there. You can come in with scissors and trim it out or continue with your X-Acto. Here are all my pieces for my journal cover and the cardstock that I printed on one side. I didn't need to print on both sides of this because I wanted it to be stronger. That's why I have the chipboard. So now I have my scoreboard and my boning tool, and I have a line right down the middle there at the 6-inch mark. And I drew it with a Sharpie clear down so I can line it up at the top, line it up at the bottom, so I know I am even when I need to get a line that's kind of in the middle there and not at a specific length or width that I need to score at. So I'm doing this with the main piece of my journal, and then I'm going to come in. This is going to be the flap that wraps around the back and comes across to the front to cover the front of my journal cover. Once that is all scored, I move the scoreboard out of the way, and now I'm just using my fingers to warm that paper up, and the oils on your hands to help break down that paper just a little bit. It doesn't leave any marks, it's just natural oils. Of course, my hands are so dry right now with the winter. There's probably not much oil in there at all. And I'm just going to fold it at each of the score lines that I just placed in there, rubbing it with my hands, warming that paper up, and gently rolling it on over onto that score mark there, and then just using my fingers to lay it down. This is the cover itself, and I'm just going to do the same thing, warming it with my fingers as I roll it up over that score mark, and then pinching it and flattening that out with my hands. Now it's time for my Tyvek. Now I went ahead and took my full sheet of Tyvek and I cut it into 2-inch strips. I'm going to lay it down the center part of my scoreboard here, matching up so I have the same amount on each side, and then I'm going to score right down the center. Now Tyvek does not hold a crease like regular paper will, but this gives me a great starting point to fold my Tyvek in half to place on those folds of my journal cover. This is going to reinforce my journal cover so that I will have less risk of tearing on that cardstock cover. So I'm going to come in with my art glitter glue. You can use score tape here, some really good heavy duty double-sided tape if you like, but I am using just some wet glue right now as my art glitter glue, and I'm going to bring it in and stick it in the corner of where my journal cover is going to close open. Now I tried to do this video in sections where I was talking and then pausing and then talking and pausing. But for some reason, once again, I recorded in slow motion. So I have to do the voiceover and speed my video up, which is kind of making it choppy. So I do apologize for that inconvenience. And I know I don't want to give you a headache or make you dizzy, but it's the same thing I'm doing here with that glue and that Tyvek and then burnishing it down. I'm going to do it on all 4 of the corners where my journal will close and hinge together. Now we're just going to come in and trim off that extra Tyvek on the edge of our journal cover so that we don't have any excess coming over the edges as we go on to our next step. So now I want to cover my chipboard that's going to go on the inside of my journal cover. And I'm going to use these sheets that I had printed off some time ago that I printed upside down on one side so that they just weren't going to work in a journal because you were going to have your words and stuff upside down. And instead of tossing them, I'm going to use them here because I only need one side. So I'm going to use these beautiful little, these little coffee mugs and cappuccinos and pastries. And you can see here, I've got the front and the back. The back side is actually taller because that front's going to come over and wrap around the front of my journal cover. So each of these chipboard pieces I cut to fit into each section of my journal cover. So I'm just going to come in and cover each one of those with my paper. I'm going to use my art glitter glue here. So I'm just going to take it, I take my needle out, and I'm just going to run this all along the back side. Well, it doesn't matter, back side, front side. It's the same all the way around on this chipboard. But I'm going to put a nice coat of this art glitter glue. Now using my fine point tip on here, this is not a lot of glue. That tip that's on there is wonderful for this because it spreads it out nicely and it does not oversaturate your paper. So now I'm just going to lay my chipboard on there and I'm going to rub that down, flip it over, and then burnish that side with my paper and that chipboard. Once that is nice and glued on there, we're just going to trim around the outer edge, just about a ½ inch all the way around. And then we're going to come in and we're just going to snip off the corners just a little bit. But let's go ahead and score. And it's just an easy, let's come in with my bone folder here. And I'm just going to drag that along the edge of where that paper, well, that cardstock and the chipboard meet. And now I'm going to cut off the corners. Do not cut up close to the edge, that corner tip. Just cut so you still have paper that is reaching beyond that corner. And then you can go ahead and come in and roll that up just a little bit there. I'm just using my table and the weight of my chipboard on that cardstock and rolling it over. I'm doing that on all 4 sides as I start to stretch this cardstock around my chipboard. Now we're going to go ahead and come in with our bone folder and we are going to burnish that cardstock right on down to that chipboard. I'm going to run it along the edge, pressing that cardstock right up against the edge of that chipboard and burnishing it down towards the inside as I fold that over to the back side of my board. Once I get that all pre-pressed on there, I'm going to come in with my art glitter glue and we are going to glue this all the way around. I first lay it on the edge next to where the cardstock and the chipboard meets, and then I come right on up and I do over the outside of the cardstock, and then I can roll it over with my fingers and rub that in, burnishing it down with my bone folder. I'm going to continue this all the way around my chipboard and my cardstock until I get all of these pieces covered for the inside cover of my journal. And there you have it. It is all the way around. Now I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm just going to roll those corners. You can see there, I'm just taking my bone folder, rolling that corner to the back so that there is no edge of that chipboard showing from underneath that cardstock. All right, so all of my pieces are now covered and now I can start putting this together. As you look on here, you can actually see the white beyond my chipboard. So I have this other piece that I have printed off of some backing paper, and I'm going to just cut strips of that out and I'm going to lay it on the inside cover on over where that Tyvek is actually at. So when I lay down my chipboard pieces, you don't see the white Tyvek, you see the pretty pink striped paper. Here you can see I just need to cut right along those lines, and I'm going to cut that and score it and get that glued down to each one of those creases for my cover. Before I do that, let's go ahead and attach our flap that's going to go around our journal and to the front. Let's go ahead and attach that to the back of our journal cover. Once again, art glitter glue, you can see there I have the back and there's the front, and I'm just going to take that and I'm going to line that up right with that binding that you can actually see on that printed journal cover right there. And you just lay it right on up in there and line those edges up, press it down, and burnish. Now, I went ahead and got that pink paper lined in all of those corners. And I'm going to come in with my Tim Holtz Distressed Oxide and Vintage Photo. I have a few here on my desk. I have many colors upstairs. I was debating on whether I wanted to use that frayed burlap, which actually is a green tint to it, but I went ahead and stuck with the Vintage Photo here, and we are just going to ink all the edges all the way around, front, back, in, out of my journal cover. Okay, it is all inked and we are now ready to add our chipboard to the inside of our journaling cover. Look at that, it's coming together nicely. This is going to create a nice sturdy hard book cover on our journal. So I want to make sure that I'm laying these in here properly and that it is all facing upright so that when I open my book, all my coffee mugs are standing upright, not upside down. We want this all to be, anything that's directional is going to be directional on your pages as you're laying this down. Art glitter glue all around my edges, all around the back of that chipboard, and then we're going to line it up on our journal cover. Line your edges up, your corners up, and then I just tap it down on a straight edge and make sure everything is lined up nicely. Come in with one of my little scrapers and burnish that down. Once you're happy with that and it's all burnished down nicely for you, it's now time to continue forward and adding the rest of our chipboard pieces to each section of our journal cover. So here is that. This is where our binding will be. This is where the spine of our journal will be. We're just going to add that art glitter glue there and attach that right on down into place. Easy way for me to do this is to lift up the one edge and make sure that those edges are lifted and that that piece of that binding will go right in between both of those edges as they close up. Now I can come in and burnish that glue down onto the inside of that chipboard. Once I had all those pieces down, I did come in with some of my binder clips, clipped it all down so I knew all my edges would be flat. Only thing I have left to do is tab that's going to come over to the front of my journal. And that will be one of the later things I do. I just wanted to do the cover with you today so that we can do the signatures another time. So I'm going to come in, I'm removing all of my binder clips. There you have it. What do you guys think? I think this turned out great. It is so sturdy. That chipboard and that cardstock together with that Tyvek, this is going to be a sturdy journal. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I am so happy to share with you how I create my journals, and we are just on phase 1, step 1, creating our cover. If you like this, please give me a thumbs up. If you've not subscribed, I hope you will consider doing so now by hitting that subscribe button. If you want to know when the next one's gone live, hit that bell notification and YouTube should notify you when my next video has gone live. As always, guys, stay safe, God bless, and bye for now.